Elena was the youngest daughter of a wealthy merchant who had built his fortune trading silk and spices across medieval Europe. Unlike the fantastical version where she was described as supernaturally beautiful, Elena was simply a spirited 16-year-old with an unfortunate tendency toward carelessness. Her most prized possession was a golden locket, not a magical ball, but a family heirloom containing a miniature portrait of her deceased mother. Each afternoon, she would escape the stifling atmosphere of her father's manor house and walk to the old stone well in the nearby forest, a remnant from Roman times that still provided the clearest water for miles around. One day, while sitting on the well's edge lost in thought about her mother, the locket's chain broke. She watched in horror as it tumbled into the dark water below, far beyond her reach. Her distressed sobs attracted the attention of Hermann, a local hermit who lived in the forest. Years of isolation and poor nutrition had left him with a severe skin condition that gave his complexion a greenish, mottled appearance. His voice, roughened by disuse, croaked when he spoke. The local children, frightened by his appearance, had nicknamed him the Frog. Hermann had been watching Elena's daily visits from a distance, struck by her kindness to the forest animals and her obvious loneliness, emotions he recognized in himself. When he offered to retrieve her locket, Elena was desperate enough to accept help from anyone, even the frightening hermit the townspeople whispered about. "I'll get your locket," Hermann said, "but I want something in return. Not gold or jewels, I have no use for those. I want to sit at your family's table for one meal. I want to be treated like a human being, just once." Elena, focused only on recovering her mother's locket, agreed without truly considering what she was promising. Hermann was an excellent swimmer and diver, skills learned in his youth before illness and misfortune drove him to solitude. He easily retrieved the locket and handed it to Elena, who clutched it gratefully and hurried home, hoping to forget the uncomfortable encounter. But that evening, as the family sat down to dinner, there was a knock at the door. Hermann stood there, cleaned up as best he could manage, asking Elena to honor her promise. Elena was mortified. Her father, a practical businessman, listened to the story and made a decision that surprised everyone. A promise made must be kept, especially to someone who helped you in need. "Hermann, you are welcome at our table." Over the course of that evening, something remarkable happened. Hermann, treated with basic human dignity for the first time in years, began to remember how to interact with people. His posture straightened, his voice grew stronger, and as he shared stories of his travels and learning, the family realized he was far more educated and refined than his appearance suggested. It emerged that Hermann had once been a scholar and physician who had contracted a disfiguring disease while treating plague victims. Shunned by society and bitter about his fate, he had retreated to the forest. But Elena's father, recognizing both Hermann's knowledge and his fundamental decency, offered him a position as tutor to his children and physician to his household. Gradually, with proper food, medicine, and human companionship, Hermann's health improved dramatically. His skin condition, exacerbated by malnutrition and poor living conditions, began to heal. More importantly, his spirit recovered from years of isolation and rejection. Over the months that followed, Elena and Hermann developed a genuine friendship based on mutual respect and shared interests in learning and literature. What had begun as a reluctant promise became something much deeper. Not instant romantic love, but the slow growth of understanding between two lonely people who had found companionship in each other. When they eventually married, it was not because of any magical transformation, but because they had discovered that true beauty lies in kindness, intelligence, and the courage to look beyond surface appearances. This realistic version strips away the supernatural elements while preserving the story's core message: that keeping our promises matters, that people are more than their appearance, and that sometimes the most unlikely encounters can lead to the most meaningful relationships. The transformation becomes not magical, but deeply human. The healing that occurs when someone is treated with dignity and kindness after years of rejection and isolation. The well, rather than being a magical portal, becomes simply what it was for countless generations, a gathering place where lives intersect and stories begin.